All right, guys. So let's get started. So I hope everyone is able to hear me. So we have a great amount of audience today. So let me see. Guys, you're able to hear me fine, right? You're able to see my screen. All right. Thanks a lot for confirming. All right, so let's get started with our session. So before that, let me introduce myself. I'm Rahul Arora from Way to Automation. So I am having over 13 plus years of experience in software testing itself. I used to work as a test manager with one of the company in Gurgaon in India itself. And I am into this automation industry from over 9 years now, where I have worked on a lot of automation tools, in which Selenium is obviously one of the major one. So I have worked as a corporate trainer as well. I've given a lot of training to different corporate organizations in Selenium, in Apm, in other automation tools. In India, even outside India, in US, there's a company, Shutterstock, in New York. So, and Spoken Communications in Seattle. Okay, Pawan is saying there is some noise. Uh, Guys, are you able to hear me fine, or are you feeling any background noise? Okay, it's loud and clear. All right. So, Pavan, could be an issue at your end, right? Okay. Thanks, guys, for confirming. Right. So, I've been into corporate training. I own an institute as well with the name Way to Automation in Noida, Delhi. Right. So, that's pretty much about me. I hope most of you guys are from testing background, either manual testing or automation testing. Anyone from development background who have joined us today? Okay, anyone having prior experience in automation? All right. So just couple of you, or like I can see major audience. We have somewhere around 77 attendees today. Okay, only manual testing. Okay. All right. So guys, I really want that everyone should participate. It's not like it's going to be a 2 hours of a session. It's not like only I'll be talking for the entire 2 hours. So let me tell you about the go-to webinar stuff first. So by default, as we have a huge audience, so everyone will be on mute by default, so that there should not be any background noise. You have a chat box, a question answer box, where you can type in the question and I'll gonna respond to you immediately. In case you directly want to talk to me, you can just ping for unmuting, then I'll gonna unmute you, and then you can have a conversation directly with me, right? But by default, everyone will gonna be mute during the session, right? So you can ask in many questions and many queries in the chat box, in the question answer box, and I'm gonna respond on that, right? But I really want the session to be interactive, so that everyone should participate in the question and answer. All right. So any more questions before we get started with the training? Anything that you want to ask? Yes, I'm going to record this session, and I'll be sharing you the recording after the session. So in our today's session, we have mixed audience. There are some students who have already taken the core Java training and now joining for Selenium. And there are many people who are joining for the first time as a demo session. So the first two sessions, we are actually going to keep it as an introductory session on Selenium. We're going to see a lot of configuration, what all tools that we need to download, how all configuration will gonna take place, and we're gonna automate some of the stuff in these 2 sessions as well. Right, but after the 2 sessions, like the first 2 sessions are very basics. So in case you are not familiar with any programming language, don't worry about it. Just try to understand the concept, like what level of programming knowledge that you need to know in order to work on Selenium. Because if I talk about Selenium, it's only very basic programming concepts. You must have studied in your graduation or somewhere else the basic programming part. Like if I talk about Java itself, so it's only core Java that is required to work on Selenium. There is no advanced Java, and you need not to worry about the core Java, about the programming part as well, because once we start the batch from next weekend, we'll be starting from the basic Java part itself, right? And people who have already done the Java training, after these 2 sessions, you'll be continuing with your Selenium WebDriver sessions itself, right? So everything will be covered from the scratch. But yes, just for the next 2 days, I'll be writing a little bit of code as well. So people who are not at all familiar with any programming language, just try to understand the concept, like what exactly Selenium is and how much coding that is required in order to work on Selenium, and what all integration that we'll be doing with Selenium, right? Okay, so any other question? You're looking for a job in DevOps. So yeah, DevOps is also a great stream these days. There are a lot of openings in DevOps as well, but some of the DevOps tools like Maven, Jenkins, these are some of the things that we are going to cover in these sessions as well. So when will session start? Session is already started, right? So I'll gonna come to the topic very soon once we are done with basic questions. Any more questions before we get started? So Raj, you have 0 programming knowledge. Don't worry about it. We're gonna cover everything from scratch. After these 2 demo sessions, you'll be starting with the Java part from scratch. All right. Okay, then are you going to cover Apm Basics as well? Yes. At the end of the session, we'll be covering Apm, that is for the mobile automation basics we are going to cover. What automation testing will be covering? I'll be mentioning the details during the session. I'll be explaining you what all things we are going to cover. If you have a Python knowledge, then that's great. Same thing is required for working on Selenium with Java as well. Very basic knowledge. Yeah, Selenium is only for web automation, only for the UI automation. Okay, is there a cap on number of students? See, you're not going to find these many students because they'll be divided into 2 parts. So don't worry about it. But you'll be given personal attention, so don't worry. You can ask as many questions you have. It is easy to run Selenium. Yes, it's very easy. If you know the basic programming concepts, it's very easy. Which is best for Selenium, Java or Python? See, both languages are very important, but if you talk about job point of view, then 60 to 70% of the market is still Selenium with Java, and then the next important language after Java is Python. So in case you know one language, you should be able to migrate to the second language very easily in very less time. API testing is a different course. So API testing is not included in Selenium. Selenium is only for UI testing. All right, so we're gonna take the question answers later on now, right? Because I can see a lot of generic questions are being asked, but I'm gonna answer all your questions. But before that, let's get started with the topic, and then we're gonna take other questions, right? Okay, so the very first thing before we get started, what exactly is Selenium? What is Selenium? Anything and everything that you know about Selenium, just let me know. Just a one-liner, very quick. What exactly is Selenium? So what is Selenium? Automation tool. Selenium is an API, automation testing suite, web browser automation tool, support multiple browsers. Great, lot of answers. It's a framework. It's a third-party tool. That's great. So most of the people are saying it's an automation tool. So yes, that's great. It's an open source automation tool. So we can say it's an open source. Open source means there is no license required to work on Selenium. It's completely free of cost. So open source automation tool. Tool for what? For web-based application testing only. So only means Selenium is only for web-based testing. You cannot automate other things apart from web-based applications, right? You can automate any website using Selenium. So what all other testing that we do apart from web-based? Have you heard about other testing areas? So web-based is one. Apart from web-based, do we have anything else? We have mobile testing. So we have mobile-based applications as well. Mobile-based. We have GUI as in desktop-based. Anything else? Performance is again done on these applications only. So we have API. API as in web services, right? And we have database applications. Security is again done on these applications only, right? Security, performance, functional, non-functional, right? So all these are done on these applications. So we have web-based applications, we have mobile-based applications, we have desktop-based application, we have web services, we have database applications. So these are the major areas generally where we perform testing on. If we talk about Selenium, Selenium comes only and only here. Selenium is only and only for web-based application testing. Then why Selenium is very popular in the industry? There are other areas as well. There are mobile application, desktop application, APIs are there, database testing is there. Why Selenium is very popular if Selenium is only and only for web-based application testing? You may have seen these days many openings around Selenium. Not only these days, I mean, if you talk about any manual testing opening as well, Selenium is like a prerequisite. So you should have knowledge of Selenium. Now there is nothing called as just manual testing opening, right? You may have not seen just manual testing opening these days, right? So because the profiles are being converted into SDET, that is software development engineer in test, right? So the demand of market is growing every day. Every day you may gonna find new automation tool coming into the industry, but Selenium is still very popular and very widely used. And it's like a prerequisite. Every next automation or manual testing opening, you're gonna find Selenium. But why Selenium? Why not other automation tools? So mostly we have web application these days. That's true. It's free, it's open source. That is also true. It's simple. Okay, so before we jump onto this point, just let me know what all you know about Selenium. Any feature about Selenium? It supports multiple browsers. So it has got a multi-browser support. So what all browser it supports? It supports IE, it supports Chrome, it supports Firefox, it supports Edge, it supports Safari, Opera. All major browsers are supported by Selenium. Then it supports multiple OS as well. So OS, what all OS? It supports Windows, it supports Linux, it supports Mac, it supports Solaris, it supports iOS, it supports Android, right? Sorry. So it supports all major operating system as well. And then it has got a multi-language support. That's true. What all languages? So it supports Java, it supports C#, it supports Python, it supports Ruby, it supports PHP, it supports JavaScript. All major languages are supported by Selenium. Right. So Santosh is saying organizer have muted all. I suggest people allow participants to talk. See, I can unmute you all, but there will be a lot of disturbance. I mean, if I unmute you, in case you want to talk, you can just type it in a chat box. I'll unmute you, and then you can directly talk with me. So in case you want to talk, Santosh, I can unmute you now. All right, that's fine. So it has got a multi-browser support, a multi-OS support, and a multi-language support. What else that you know about Selenium? What all components are there in Selenium? IDE, yes. RC, WebDriver, great. And what is the current version of Selenium? 4, 3.144 alpha, 5. No, Selenium 5 is not yet there in the market. So the current official version is Selenium 3.141.59. And if we talk about alpha version, so that is like Selenium 4 alpha 6. So alpha is like currently it is at the development stage, testing phase, not yet release for official, like you can say official usage, right? But since it is available on the website, you can download and you can try playing with Selenium 4 alpha 6 version as well, right? But the official and the stable version as of now is Selenium 3.141.59. Now, which is the official website of Selenium? Which is the main website of Selenium? Okay, so most of the people still know the old website, Selenium HQ. So now it's not Selenium HQ, it's Selenium Dev. Selenium.dev. So this is the new and the official website of Selenium. And you can see over here, Selenium automates browser. That's it. Selenium is only and only for web-based application testing. You can only test browser-based application, no desktop-based applications. Have you heard about any other automation tool which was equally like popular that we have Selenium now, and that supports desktop as well? Yes, QTP UFT, right? So QTP was very popular. I mean, these days as well, I mean, QTP is now known with the name as UFT. So these days as well, UFT is in use, but the demand of UFT is not as much as we have demand of Selenium. Although UFT, it supports web-based application and it supports not mobile-based, it supports desktop-based applications as well. So you can test both desktop as well as web-based application using UFT QTP, but you cannot test a desktop application using Selenium. Still, the market is more for Selenium, not for UFT. This is true because UFT is a paid tool. It's a licensed tool. In order to get a single user license of UFT as well, a company has to pay a huge cost. And if a company is going for a concurrent license of 50 users, it will going to cost a very heavy amount. Whereas the same functionality Selenium provides absolutely free of cost. Just that Selenium does not work on desktop applications. Selenium works only and only on web applications. Whereas QTP UFT, it supports both applications. And if we talk about current market, current industry, it's a time of cloud computing. Everything is on web. All major application, all major projects are accessed via URL. And Selenium is one of the best automation tool that can automate anything and everything available on a web. Right? Yeah, these days you may have heard about Cypress as well. We're gonna talk about that later on, which is better, Cypress or Selenium. But yes, Selenium actually help you in building up your base. Whatever thing that you are studying in Selenium, same thing you're gonna use in other automation tools as well. Almost similar approach. right? So if you know Selenium, you can do your R&D, your research on other automation tool, and you can easily pick up those tools as well. Because in these days in market, you're going to see after every few months, there is new automation tool coming in the market, in the industry. Like you are mentioning about Cypress. Prior to Cypress, there was Protractor, there's WebDriver IO, there are a number of automation tools. And all these are open source automation tools. You need not to buy any license for it. But Selenium will actually going to build up your base. Once you know Selenium, you should be able to work on other automation tools as well. Right. So have you heard about any automation tool for mobile applications? Apm, exactly. So most of the people are saying Apm, right? So Apm is another open source. Apm is very popular, just like Selenium, for mobile-based application testing. It supports all type of mobile applications on Android, on iOS. Like the applications, we have different type of applications. We have a native app that is like a standalone application, like a calculator, a dialer. We have web applications. Web applications are launched on a browser on your mobile device. Like for Android, you have a by default Chrome browser. For iOS, you have a Safari browser. Same way, we have a hybrid application, which is a combination of native plus web applications. So 3 types of applications are there, and Apm can automate all these 3 types of applications. Desktop, we have seen we have UFT. For API, web services testing, have you heard about any automation tool? You've heard about POSTMAN. You've heard about Rest Assured. Ready API, SOAP UI, right? So in web services, most of the people who are new to testing might not be familiar with what web services are. And most of the people who have already done manual testing as well must have manually tested this API web services, which are in a form of REST or SOAP APIs. Right, using Postman, using SOAP UI, right? And if you have not tested, if you have never tested it, don't worry about it. I'm going to give you an overview of what exactly APIs are, right? And then for database, we have different database tools available, MySQL, SQL, Oracle, where we generally write the queries, we get the data, we validate the data, right? So these are the general areas, and these are the major automation tools involved in these areas, right? But since we are starting with Selenium, and Selenium is actually a base for all these areas that I can say, for mobile, for desktop, for API, for database. If you know Selenium, you should be able to integrate all these things with Selenium easily, right? But before we get started, see, in order to learn Selenium, it's not important that you should have a prior knowledge of manual testing. If you have, then that's good. If you, there are many developers who are moving into automation. They don't know anything. I mean, all the technology of manual testing, all the testing terminologies of manual testing, they don't know about it. But they are still working on Selenium. They're designing frameworks. They're automating stuff. So it's not mandatory that you should have knowledge of manual testing, right? See, in case you don't know anything on manual testing, then I'm going to provide you my video library, free access for the entire manual training material. You can go through that, and you can brush up your skills on manual testing part as well. Right? Why a developer interest for automation testing? That's another good question, because the environment is very cool in terms, if we talk about automation, as compared to development, and the salary packages are equivalent, right? So we'll have this discussion by the end of the session, but let's focus on the topic right now. So what we have written over here, that Selenium is an open source automation tool. The very first thing about Selenium is that it's not like a tool. It's not actually a tool. So when I'm saying it's not a tool, it means you cannot install Selenium. Like QTP UFT is a tool. You get a setup file, you double click on it, it gets installed on your machine, provide you a platform, you can do record and play, you can do scripting, you can use a lot of features of that tool that is like a GUI application, it will actually gonna give it to you. So UFT is there, RFT is there, and number of automation tools are there. But Selenium is not a tool. You cannot install Selenium. You're not gonna get any exe file in a form of Selenium which you can install on your machine. You'll not be able to see Selenium. There is no GUI in Selenium. So if Selenium is not a tool, then what exactly is Selenium? It's a form of jar files. So you are saying jar files because we are starting Selenium with Java. If I do Selenium with C#, then Selenium will gonna come in a form of a DLL file. If I do Selenium with Ruby, then it will gonna come in a form of a gem file. So jar files are only in case you're working in Selenium with Java, right? So Selenium is a framework. You can call it as a framework. You can call it as a set of libraries. You can call it as a project, or you can call it as an API. So that's true. Selenium itself is an API. So what do you understand by the term API? What is an API? So that's very important to know what is an API before we get started with Selenium. What is an API? Middleware, application programming interface. So that's actually a full form. So what do we have inside application programming interface? It's an UI page, record and play back. No, record and play is one of the component in Selenium, but Selenium is not just only record and play. So API is web service. API, it's a huge term. It's not only related to web service. Although we say API testing, that is like a middleware web services testing, but API consists of so many components. So it's a mediator. API between client and server. See, again, client and server is something related to web services. So API itself is like a complete project. Project as in, okay, let me take a real-time example first, and then we'll be able to understand what exactly is an API and why I'm saying that Selenium is an API. So let's say I'm going to take a basic Java example itself. I believe every one of you must have studied C, C++ in your graduation. Any programming language. I'm not talking about that you know it right now. It might be a time that you may have studied a long time back and you have forgot all the concepts. But still, at least you must have studied. Anyone who have never studied any programming? Okay, I can see all yes. All right, started with C long time back. Okay, that's fine. That's fine even if you have learned on your own. That's fine. Okay, so very few are there who have never studied. Okay, that's fine. Even if you have never studied, just try to understand the concept, right? See, I'm going to write a little code today. If you're not familiar with programming part, don't worry about it. Just try to understand the concept, because programming will gonna start from the next week once this new batch is formed, right? We're gonna start with ABC of programming. Don't worry about it. So if I talk about what is an API, so let's say I am working as a Java developer with some xyz.com. And here I got a task that I need to design a calculator. So as a developer, I need to design a calculator. In a calculator, there are various operations available. I can add something, I can subtract something, I can divide something, multiply something, and so on. So I need to actually design this functionality. In order to design a calculator in Java, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna create a class with the name as calculator. So I believe everyone have heard about what a class is. Just theoretical. All right, most of you have heard about what a class is. That's fine. So what do we have inside a class? What do we have inside class? Methods, member variables, object, main method, interface, constructor. Okay, lot of answers. That's great. That's great. So in a class we have so many things. We have data members, we have functions, right? We have constructor. Now, if I talk about this calculator project, since I'm designing a calculator, and there are a lot of functions inside calculator: addition, subtraction, division, multiplication. So I'll be defining all these things in a form of a function inside this class. I'm gonna create a function with the name add, and inside this add function I'm gonna write some code so that if you call this add function, it will gonna add some numbers. Same way, after designing add, I'm gonna create another function. When we are working in Java, we don't call these things as functions, we call them as methods. So methods and functions both are the same stuff, right? So in a class we have so many methods for each functionality: addition, subtraction, division, multiplication. I'll be creating one methods inside this class, and I'm gonna write some logic over here. Inside this division method, I'm gonna write some logic. If you call this division method, it will gonna divide some numbers. Then if you call this multiplication, it will gonna multiply some numbers. Now let's suppose I have created the entire functionality and I have kept it inside this calculator class. Now what I want to do, I want to check whether this addition functionality is working fine or not. So I want to call this addition from this calculator class. How to call a method from a class? How to call a method from a class? Using object, creating an object. That's great. What is the syntax for that? How to create an object? How should I call this addition method? What should I write? Calculator calc equal to new calculator. That's great. So I'm gonna write something like calculator, and then I'm gonna say calc equal to new calculator. This is how we're gonna create an object of a class, right? And how to call the method? How to call the method? How to call addition? calc.add. So simply we're gonna say calc.add. So if you run this much code, whatever that is written inside this addition method will be executed, right? But before you call any method from this class, you actually need to create an object of this class. And this is the very first statement in which we are actually creating object of this class. Now in this statement, what is an object? What is an object inside this statement? Calc, new calculator, calc, all right. So a lot of people are saying calc, a lot of people are saying new calculator. Calc is a reference variable. New calculator is an object. Is new calculator an object or is calc an object? Okay. Then what is this? What is this? What is this calculator? It's a type. It's a data type. It's a class name. Great. And this calc, it's an object, reference variable, object. Okay. Some people are saying object, many people are saying reference variable. Okay, that's fine. What is this? What is this equal to? It's an assignment operator. That's true. And what is this? It's a keyword. And what is this? It's a constructor. No, it's not a class name. It's basically a constructor. That's great. That's great. So a lot of people know. So we're gonna see this thing practically. That what exactly is an object? Why many people are saying Calcium object? Why many people are saying new calculator an object? Why this is called as a type? Whether like this is basically a class name. Why we are calling it as a type or a data type, right? So we're gonna see all these things practically. And sometime you should be very much clear with these concepts that how we actually gonna call a method from a class and what exactly is object, what is a constructor, right? So what happens, like I have started writing everything in a notepad, right? In previous time, people used to do programming, used to write Java code in notepad as well. But time have changed. There are many editors available in the market with artificial intelligence. It's like these editors helps you a lot while writing code. In case if you're not very much good at coding, you can still use these editors and they're going to provide you a lot of suggestions if you make any mistake. At times it happens in a class there are hundreds of methods, so you cannot remember all the methods. You simply say calc dot, it will show you a list of all the methods and you can choose the methods from there. So some editors are paid, some editors are open source. Like if I talk about editor, there is an editor called as IntelliJ. There is an editor called as NetBeans. WebStorm is there. Then one of the most popular editor, that is Eclipse. So 70% of the companies are using Eclipse. Eclipse is very widely used editor. So you'll be using Eclipse itself for writing the Java code. But there is a prerequisite before you download Eclipse. You need to have Java installed on your machine. Before you do anything in automation, you need to have this Java on your machine. And Java as in JDK, that is Java Development Kit. And I'll be using one of the most stable version of Java. I'll not be using the latest version because latest version, there are a lot of compatibility issues. So one of the most stable version of Java is Java 1.8, which is one of the most stable one and very widely used in automation itself, right? So we'll first gonna fulfill these two prerequisites and then we're gonna see what exactly is an API. So I'm gonna go to Google directly and I'll be typing download JDK 1.8. So we're gonna see the configuration, that is a prerequisite to get started with Selenium. So this is the very first link. You'll be navigating to the Oracle website. Java is by Oracle now. So Java is completely open source, no license required to work on Java. At least Java 8 is completely open source. You can see the licensing part for Java is also changed from Java 11 and so onwards. I mean, you can see starting April 16, 2019, Java has got some license component as well. But the basic component that we are using, JDK, like the core Java part, it's absolutely free. You need not to pay any license when you download this JDK 1.8. So now over here, you can see a lot of operating system like Linux is there, Mac is there, Solaris is there, Windows is there. In Windows as well, we have 264 is for 64-bit, 86 is for 32-bit operating system. So mine window is 64-bit. I'll be downloading this exe file. If you click on it, it is not going to download it directly. So basically, in order to download this exe, you actually need to create a free account on Oracle website. So if you click on this, if you click on download, so if I check this and click on download, so see, it is taking me to the Oracle login page. So I've already signed up over here and I've already downloaded it. It's just a free account. You just need to create a free username and password and then you should be able to download it. So once you download it, it will gonna come like this. So I've already downloaded it. It comes as a exe file, like a simple software that you need to install. This is what JDK 1.8, how it looks like. So just double click on it, next, and Java get installed on your machine. That is the only thing you need to do in order to install Java. Once you install Java, you're gonna see inside your C drive program files, you're gonna see Java over here. You'll see a folder of Java. If you open this, you'll get JDK, and you'll also gonna get one JRE. I was trying to reinstall it and I've removed JRE. But you're gonna see two folders over here. One is JDK and the other one is JRE. JDK stands for Java Development Kit and JRE is Java Runtime Environment. Now what is JDK, what is JRE? You need not to worry about it right now. For the time being, what you need to do, once your Java is installed, you simply need to go to command prompt and just need to make sure that Java is there on your machine or not by typing java-version. And you can see it is showing me the current version as 1.8 on my machine. So Java is already installed and it is already configured as well. There are little configuration that you need to do in order to configure Java. We need to set up some system environment variables as well. Now, what are those configuration? We're going to see that in our tomorrow's lecture. For today, we are not going to configure that because whatever that we are going to do right now does not require any environment variable setup, right? So the Java is already there on your machine. Once Java is configured, the other thing you need to do is download Eclipse. So Java is free to download. Eclipse is again open source, no license required to work on Eclipse. Go to this link and go to download packages. Now, if you see, you're gonna find a lot of other components of Eclipse over here. The latest one, that is 2020-09, may not gonna work if you have Java below JDK 11. So I don't recommend you to download the latest one. Download this one. This is the most stable. This is the one that I'm also using. You can download 06 or 003. So just click on this. And over here, you need to download this Eclipse IDE for Enterprise Java Developer. This is a component that you need to download. And you need to download it based on your Windows, Mac, or Linux. For all platform, Eclipse is available. So once you download this, you're gonna get a zip file. See, downloading Eclipse, you can download it directly from this installer file as well. But this I don't recommend. Once you go to download Eclipse, the very first thing you'll find over here is a installer file. Don't install it from here. Otherwise, you may gonna miss some components. So go to download packages and then look for 2020-06 or 2020-03. So over here, IDE for Enterprise Java Developer. This is what you actually need to download, right? So once you download this, yeah, I'll be sharing you the notepad, whatever that I'm writing over here. I'm gonna share you these things along with the recordings. So once you download it, it will gonna come in a form of a zip file. This is how Eclipse looks like. Once you unzip it, you're gonna see a folder of Eclipse. Open this, and here you're gonna find an application of Eclipse. You'll see all these folders. Nothing installable in Eclipse. Just double click on this application. We're actually gonna launch Eclipse. So mine is 2019 one. Yeah, you can use IntelliJ as well. Any editor that supports Java, basic Java, you can use that editor, right? So once you launch Eclipse, if Java is not installed, you're gonna get an error over here itself because a prerequisite of Eclipse is to have Java already installed. So now it is asking for Workspace. Now Workspace is basically a location where you actually maintain your project code. Any coding part, any project you're going to create will gonna get stored at some location on your machine. That is what Workspace is. So I generally give Workspace name with a batch name. So I'm going to name this batch as batch, what is the date today? Today is 10th October. So 10th October 2020, Selenium. And I'm gonna click on launch. So once you do that, there should be a folder created inside this Workspace, and this is batch 10th October 2020. Any coding that I'm going to do will get stored at this location. Next time I want to launch the same project, I just need to give this path in my Workspace, and same project should be launched in Eclipse. So it's launching, and this is the very first screen it will gonna show you. This is a welcome screen. Just close it, and this is how your Eclipse actually looks like. Right, so this is the area where you'll be maintaining your project hierarchy. Here you're gonna write some code, and here you're gonna get the output of that code. So very first, I'll be creating a new project. Click on create a project. From here, select the Java project. Click on next and give some project name. It could be any name. Right now, we are trying to understand what is an API. So what we did is we designed a calculator. We created a class. We have created some methods over here. Same thing, we're gonna do it inside Eclipse. So this is the class name. I'm just going to copy this. I'm going to give the same name, but before that, we need to give some project name. So I'm gonna give it as Calci project. You can give any name to the project. Click on finish. Click on open. And you're gonna see a Calci project created. If you expand it, you're gonna see one SRC folder. SRC folder is where all the coding part will gonna come inside this. And JRE system library is something like your internal Java classes are loaded along with this project. So at times you may have seen, if you have ever worked on C, C++, you write all the statements manually, something like import, like include conio.h, include studio.h, right? Even if you have ever worked on Java or Notepad, you have to write all these statements manually, like import java.util.star and n number of other libraries. But when you're working on Eclipse, you need not to worry about these import part. These things will be automatically imported along with your project, because Java is already mapped inside your project. So any internal Java package, Java classes which are required in your project you just need to call them. You need not to worry about the import packages, right? We're gonna see this stuff once we start writing some code. So that is what the benefit of this editor is. The only thing you need to do is just create your own class. So right click on your folder, right click, say new, and click on this class. And you're gonna see a template over here. So which is asking for a class name. Now class name in Java always starts from a capital letter. Capital letter as in case you are creating calculator, you need to create it with capital C. You can create it with small c as well. That will not gonna give you any error. But there are some coding standards, some best practices you need to follow while creating a class name, while creating a method name. So class name always start from a capital letter. Method name always start from a small letter, right? There is something called as camel casing that we're gonna discuss about. So next thing is you need to check this public static void main. If you click on finish, you're gonna see a sample code showing up over here. So this is your class. Let me increase the font size. Yeah. So this is the basic code, right? So these are comments. I can just remove them. Now, this whole thing is a class, and this is a by default method inside this class, which is called as a main method. You can see Java itself has created the method name with the small letter, right? And class, you can see there are something in reddish color over here, something in black color. All these reddish colors are some predefined keywords. Like we have public, private, protected. What are these things? These are called as access modifiers. Then we have static, non-static members. We have void, int, string as a return type to a method. This whole thing is a method. Now, what are these things? You need not to worry about it right now, because we have a whole big lecture on all these things. Once you move to core Java part, we have a complete lecture on access modifiers. We have static, non-static members. We have methods, return type. All these things we're going to design it from scratch, right? So you should be able to get a very good understanding on all these concepts. For the time being, we don't need to know all these things. We just need to execute some of the code in order to understand how classes and objects they actually work. So Ankit is asking, can we change the class name? Yes, I can change the class name as well. If you want to give it a name as calculator1, you can change it. It is throwing some error. This is because the class name and the file name should always be same. So if I mouse over onto this, Eclipse will gonna give me suggestion, rename file to calculator1.java or rename the type to calculator. So it will automatically gonna change it, right? So now, let's say we are designing calculator, but before that, anything that you need to execute in a class in basic core Java has to be inside this main method. Like if I talk about, if you guys have worked on C, then how to print in C? How do we print in C? What do we write? For printing, we write printf. Exactly. And C++, what do we do in C++? Cout. Exactly. And how do we do it in Java? How do we print in Java? System out println. Exactly. So the very first program of any programming language is to print hello world, right? So this is how you write system out println and inside double quotes, and then you save it. This is the run button. If you click on it, you're gonna see hello world is printed, right? But we are not here to print hello world. We are here to design a calculator right now in order to understand what an API is. So in a calculator, there are various methods available. So I'll be designing all those methods. So a method with the name add. So the very first method I'm going to write is add. See, I'm creating a method with a small letter. So as I said, there is something called as camel casing. Now what exactly camel casing is? So let's say I need to design a class and there are three words in a class. That is something like the dark night, right? So this contains three words over here, right? Now, if I read it as it is not very readable. Since it's a class name, I'm going to start it with a capital letter. And anything joining should be in caps. So after this, the dark night, anything joining should be in caps. Same way, if this is a method name, then we'll start with a small letter. Anything joining should be in caps. This is what camel casing is. So that next time, if you come across any development project or automation project, you should be able to understand, okay, this is a class name, this is a class name, and this is a method name. You should be able to read the code easily, because this is the same standard that is followed everywhere. This is what is called as camel casing, and we'll be following the same standards, right? So now in addition, I'm going to write some code which is actually going to add some numbers. But so far we have not done any programming. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to print something. Let's say adding some numbers. So that if you call this method, it is actually going to print this, adding some numbers. And same way, I'm going to add other methods as well. So after addition, we're going to create subtraction. So this is going to subtract some numbers. Then we have division. This is going to divide some numbers. And then we have multiplication. that is over here. This is going to multiply some numbers, right? So we have designed all the methods. The complete library is done. And now we want to check whether addition is working fine or not. And in order to do that, I'll go inside this main method. And in order to call addition method, I need to create an object of this class. So how we need to create it? We have already seen that by saying calculator calc equal to new calculator. So I'm just going to copy this and paste it over here. I'll go over here and just paste it. And see, it works. I mean, there are no errors, right? Error in the sense, if I, instead of writing calculator, if I do calculators, see, it highlighted it in a red color. So it means Eclipse is not able to understand what calculators is. If you do a mouse over onto this, Eclipse will gonna give you a suggestion. It says calculators cannot be resolved to a type. So see, this thing is called as a type, right? It's like a data type. This is a type. And it is giving us some quick fixes that either create a class calculators or change it to calculator. So I'll click on this and change it to calculator, and you can see the errors are gone, right? Now, if I say calc dot, I should be able to see all the methods which are there inside this class. So a method like add, a method like divide, a method like multiply, a method like subtract. So what all methods that I have created, I'm able to see all the methods. And I can call them by just clicking on it and see calc.add. And now if I run this, whatever that is written in addition should be called, see, adding some numbers. And same way, I can call other methods. I'll say calc.subtract, then calc.divide, then calc.multiply. And if I save this and run this now, you're going to see everything should be executed, right? And now there is one more method inside this class which has got a same name as of the class name. What we call that method as? What we call a method that is having a same name as of the class name? Constructor, exactly. So what are constructors? What are constructors? It executes first, initialize the object, used to initiate the class variable, instantiate the class variables. True? They are called when we create object. Exactly. So see, constructor has a same name as of the class name. It does not have any return type like void, int, string, right? And they are like a method only. You can write some code inside this as well. You can write a code, let's say calling constructor, right? And this is the very first thing that will be called when you create an object of a class. So if you go down, if in case you want to call constructor, this calculator, how will you call it? Should you say calc.calculator? You're not going to get it. See, I'm not getting it. Why? Because this is not a method, right? Constructors are not called explicitly like this way. They are automatically called. As soon as you create an object, automatically the very first thing will be called is constructor. Now, even if you don't call any method from this class, just one single line, we are creating object over here. If I click on run button, you're going to see the very first thing that is called is a constructor, right? A constructor is automatically called as soon as we create an object of a class. Now, let's come back to the same question. What is an object inside this statement? Many people say calc is an object. Many people say new calculator is an object. Let's suppose calc is an object. I'm saying calc is an object. I'll remove rest of the statement. See, still it is a valid statement. There are no errors. This is a correct statement. If I click on run button, if this is an object, then constructor will be called. right? So if I click on run button, whether the constructor will be called or not, whether it is going to call constructor or not. No. Great, all knows, right? So if I click on this, nothing will gonna happen. See, constructor is not called. So it means this is not an object, right? Okay, let's say I remove this part. There's still a valid statement. Now you are saying this is an object. If this is an object, if I click on run button, tell me whether the constructor will be called or not. Whether this time the constructor will be called or not. Okay, some no, but a lot of yes. Let's see, let's run it. See, constructor is called, right? So this is where the object is created. If this is creating an object, then what is the need of calculator calc? Why we need that calc? Why can't we directly create an object, new calculator, and then do all the other tasks? Why we need that calc? Assigning names to object, to call it, if we want to call any methods. So in case if we want to call a method, we need that calc. Avoid calling constructor all the time. Very true. So there's some saying that in order to call methods inside a class, we need that calc. So it means if I don't have that calc, I'll not be able to call method from a class, right? Will I be able to call any method if I want to call addition without that calc? Can I call that addition method? No? Yes? It's a lot of no. So people who are saying yes, how to call it? Exactly. I can still call it by saying new calculator dot add. And say if I save it and run this, you're gonna see adding some numbers is called, right? Now how about calling subtract? How to call subtract now? How to call subtract? Create another object, exactly. So again, I need to say new calculator dot subtract, new calculator dot divide, new calculator dot multiply. So in order to call 4 methods, I'm creating 4 different objects. See, every time a constructor is called, 4 methods, you can see 4 times constructor is called. Why? Because 4 objects are created, right? In case we want to call 100 methods, then we'll end up creating 100 objects in a memory. That is what I don't want. So I want that only one object to be created, and all the methods should be called from the reference of that object. So what I did, wherever the object is created inside a memory, I'm gonna store the address of that object in some variable. Could be any name, ABCD equal to this. So variable as in, let's say I want to store a value 100 into some variable. Variable could be value equal to this. So what should be the type of this variable? What should be the type? Int. Very true. It will always be stored inside int because it's a numeric value. Can we store it inside a string as it is? Can I write string? No, it is going to throw me an error. See, it is saying cannot convert from int to string, right? I cannot store it inside Boolean, right? No other type, only and only int. Means in case I want to store it inside string, then it has to be inside double quotes because string values are inside double quotes. Means if I want to store hello, can I store it inside int? I can't. So for this, a standard type is string. right? So whatever the value is, the type should be corresponding to that particular value. If the value is numeric, it should be int. If it is alphabetical, then it should be string, right? So if I talk about string, what is string? What is string in Java? Great. It's a class, right? It's a data type as well, but in Java, string is actually a class. See, if you mouse over onto string, string itself will gonna tell you that string is a class. So if string is a class, then if we do value dot, we should be able to see all the methods which are inside string class, right? So all these methods belong to string class. So this is the same way. I mean, whenever we are storing a numeric value, the type should be corresponding to numeric value, that is int. If we are storing a string value, the type should be string, and string is basically a class. Now, I'm not storing string value, I'm not storing integer value, I'm storing the reference, the address of this object. So what should be the type? Should it be int? Should it be string? It will always be of the same class name, right? Okay, Prajwala is saying that full of network problem. I guess it should not be from my end because I'm on a very high speed network. Right, let me check, because yeah, I'm on a 5G network, so no issues at other end. Okay, that's great. Yeah, it should not be from my end. All right. Okay, let's come back to the topic. See, the type should always be of the same class type. And now instead of ABCD, you can give any name. This is actually a variable, and we call it as a reference variable as well, because this is what is referencing to your object. So we generally give it a meaningful name. A meaningful name is calc. So now once you do calc dot, you should be able to see all the methods from this class. Keep on calling methods one by one. calc.add, calc.subtract, .divide, .multiply, and run this, and you're going to see only and only one object will be created, and all the methods should be called from the same object reference, right? So that is what this statement is all about. Now we have seen how to call methods from a class, right? The purpose of writing all these things is because we were trying to understand what is an API. So we have actually created a calculator, right? A dummy calculator. Now let's say all the coding is complete and I've written somewhere around 100 lines of code in this addition method with a very complex logic, let's assume, right? I've written so much coding with a lot of complexity in the code logic that I've written, somewhere around 100 lines of code in this addition method. Now what I want, next time, if any one of you want to do addition, subtraction, you should not recreate this method. Rather, you can use my utility, the one that I've created, the calculator project that I've created. You can simply call my methods. I'll give you some library to call these methods, and you can access the calculator functionality instead of rewriting the code. And I don't want to charge anything from you, so I want to keep it as a free project. So I'm going to keep it as an open source project. Now, open source does not only mean that it's a free project. I mean, it means that it's a free project, but open source means anyone can contribute into the development of this project as well. So let's say you are also coming from a development background and you have seen my project and you want to contribute into this project. You want to add some more methods for calculating percentage, for calculating square root, and you want to enhance this project, then you are most welcome. And as an end user, if you want to access the functionality of adding, dividing, subtracting, multiplying, you should not be recreating the entire project. You can access the methods, you call the functionality, and you can achieve your task. That is how open source project actually works. Now, in order to publish this project in the market, what I did for testing purpose, I've created this main method. Now it is not required. I'm going to remove it. So these are the only methods inside this project. And this project is calculator project. Now I want to publish it in the market. So how I'll do that? I'll just right click on my project. I'll go to export. I'll click on Java, select it as a jar file. I'm going to click on next. Gonna give some name to this jar file. Let's say I'm gonna name it as calculator version 1.0, the very first version of my project, .jar. And let's save it somewhere on desktop. So I'll go to desktop and I'll save this. Click on finish. So if I go to my desktop, yeah, this is what I got for calculator. This is my calculator project. Now it's nothing like if I give it to you, you're going to double click on it and it is going to install calculator on your machine. It is not going to install calculator on your machine, right? Through this jar file, you're only going to come to know what all classes are there, what are methods there inside this project. If developer has not given you access to the code, you'll not be able to see the code, but you will still be able to call the addition, multiplication and division method. Normally in an open source project, people give away the code as well, because open source means anyone can contribute into the development part, right? So this is what we got from the project, and this is what I've uploaded it on my website. Why? Because website can be accessed from any part of the world. Next time anyone want to do addition, division, subtraction, can go to my website, download this jar file and use it, and can access the functionality that I've written. He need not to recreate the entire project, rewrite the entire code again, right? I'll show you the step how we have created this jar file again. So just right click, go to export, go to jar file, next, give the name of the jar file and finish. That's it, right? So once we are done with this, once we have created the jar file, once we have uploaded the jar file on our website, I'm going to close this project now. So let us close this project. Let's assume I have left this organization. Now I'm going to join a new organization, something like hsbcbank.com, right? Some banking domain. I joined a new organization. Again, their project was in Java only. So let's create a new project with the name HSBC Bank. Right, so this is a HSBC Bank project, and what I'm going to do, I'll click on finish. Now, it's an existing project. When I joined this project, a lot of coding was already there, right? A lot of functionality was already there. I was had in between of this project. There was already a class with the name banking. Right, and let's add a main method as well over here. And there was already a functionality, something called as calculating profit. There's a method for calculating profit. There's a method for calculating loss, right? So all these methods were already there, and I was hired in between of this project. Now, the company asked me to implement a functionality that could add salaries for n number of employees. So something like I need to create a method over here with the name as add. Now let's assume if I talk about the functionality of this addition method is almost the same that I've created in my calculator project. Same code I need to implement it over here as well. But that code was a very lengthy code, somewhere around 100 lines of code with very complex logic. I can rewrite it, that's fine. But it may gonna take me some time, or could be few days as well. So instead of adding that much effort, instead of rewriting the entire code again, why don't I use that library, which was actually an open source library? So if the functionality is similar, I can simply go to their website and download their jar file of the previous organization, of the calculator project. And after downloading the jar file, I can right click on my project, go to build path, go to add external archive and select this jar file from here and click on open. That's it. So I've added that project library in my HSBC Bank project. If you expand this, you'll be able to see that calculator class. If you expand this, you should be able to see all these methods that were there inside this class. But you'll not be able to see the code. That's fine. I need not to do anything with the code. I want this addition functionality, this addition method. And I got it with the help of this jar file. Then what I'll do, I'll directly call this method inside my class. How? By creating an object of this class. Simply by saying calculator calci equal to new calculator. See, I'm able to create an object of this class. This class does not belongs to banking project. This is a different project. We are calling it inside banking project with the help of this jar file. If jar file is not there, let's say if I go to build path and remove it, if it is not there, you're going to see it will going to throw error. Mouse over, Eclipse will say cannot be resolved to a type. Create a class calculator. Why should we create? It is already there, but in some third party project. So we have to add that project, that jar file of that project over here. And then Eclipse should be able to understand what this calculator is. Now I can go inside this method and I can simply say calci dot add. And I'm able to add it. I'm able to implement the entire functionality without rewriting the code. Simply call this method over here. Change this method name to add salary. And now how to call add salary? If I want to call add salary over here, I'll be creating an object of this banking class. How? Same way, banking b equal to new banking. And then I'll say b dot add salary. That's it. And if I run this now, you're going to see same functionality is executed, adding some numbers. Without rewriting the code, I have actually achieved that addition functionality in my banking project with the help of this jar file. So if I talk about this jar file, this is what an API is. This is an API to HSBC Bank project. And if we are talking about Selenium, Selenium is one of the same stuff. Selenium is available in a form of a single jar file or multiple collection of jar files. So from this website, the main website of Selenium, in case you want to download Selenium, you go to this downloads and you're going to see the current version of Selenium over here. The latest stable version is 3.141.59. If I click on this, see, it is downloading one single jar file. Just a 10 MB jar file is downloaded. If I open this, this is the jar file. So what we need to do, I'll just copy this, go to desktop and move it somewhere. Let's say I'll paste it on desktop itself. This is the jar file. See, same like calculator jar file, this is Selenium jar file. Remove this indexing from here. Now, in case you want to use Selenium in your project, in HSBC Bank project, you can do that thing as well. Just right click over here, go to build path, add external archives, and add this jar file. That's it. And that is all the configuration that is required for Selenium. You need one Java, JDK, Eclipse, and this jar file. Now you can automate any website, build up in any language, and execute that code in any platform you want. Right? Now let's say instead of calling this banking, I want to use Selenium now. So like we have a calculator class in calculator jar file. We have a class called as Chrome driver in this Selenium jar file. Chrome driver. So I'm going to create an object of this class. See, the object created, no error. That's it. Now if I run this, what will happen? I got some errors. See, what are these errors? It is saying something like, just read this error, illegal state exception. The path to driver executable. It is looking for some driver executable. Now, what is this driver executable? Basically, Selenium, when we start talking about the architecture of Selenium, how Selenium communicates with the browser, there is no direct communication. All the browser vendors, they provide their own APIs in order to make the standalone server jar file communicate with the browser. So this jar file actually sends a request to that API. That API is provided by your browser vendor. So in case you want to work on Chrome, then Google will gonna provide you that API. So where you're gonna get that API, we're gonna have a detailed discussion on the architecture. But for the time being, in order to run your code on Chrome or Firefox or Edge, their vendor, they provide some executable file that you need to place in your project. So if you go over here, you're gonna find browser in the Selenium website itself. Open this. Let's say we are working on Chrome. So Chrome is supported by Chromium project. Please refer through their documentation. If I click on this, it takes me to site.google.com. See, Google is what it is actually providing. Very first thing I need to check what is the current version of my browser. So I'll go to settings. I'll go to about Chrome and see I'm having a version 86. So corresponding to this version, I'll go over here and download this latest stable release. Click on this and it is available for Windows, Mac, Linux. I'll click on Windows and start the download. It's downloaded. I'll go to my downloads. It's inside compressed. And this is what Chrome driver I got. I'll expand it, extract it. So after extracting, I got this one. See, this is the exe file, the application. Just copy this, go back to Eclipse, right click on your project and paste it. That's it. That's the only stuff you need to do. Just have this executable available with you. And then look at the coding part. So what we did, we have created an object of this class. If I save this, as soon as I run it, you're gonna see a browser launches. Just by creating an object of Chrome driver class, a browser launched. So where is the code written for launching the browser? The developer may have written 100 lines of code to launch the browser, but where is that code written? Where is the code written for launching the browser? How the browser is launched? We have just created an object of Chrome driver class. Selenium class, Selenium library. How about others? WebDriver. Correct, Raj. Selenium jar file, exactly. So this is inside the jar file. So inside jar file, we have that code written. But where inside this jar file? Where inside jar file? Inside package? Where inside the package? WebDriver. What is WebDriver? Chrome driver, exactly. Chrome driver class. So inside Chrome driver class, the code is written. But where inside the Chrome driver class? Where the code is written inside the Chrome driver class to launch the browser? Method. Which method have we called? Have we called any method? Constructor, exactly. So there is a constructor inside this Chrome driver class. See, even if I don't write this thing, just new Chrome driver, and run it. As soon as an object is created, a constructor is called, a developer has written a code inside constructor itself that is it's going to launch the browser. Right? So that is where the constructor in the Selenium API. Right? But in case you want to call other methods, you'll not be creating new Chrome driver again and again. Otherwise, every time a new browser will be called, a new browser will be launched, right? So you need to create a reference. So that's the reason we have created a reference by saying Chrome driver equal to this. And now when I do driver dot, I'll get access to all the methods inside this class. And the very first method I am going to call is this get. And you can see it accepts a URL in a form of a string. String means double quotes. And here I'm going to give the URL as http google.com. And I'll save this and run this again. So see, it's launching and navigating to google.com. Right? And let's say my very first test case is to validate the title. I want to get the title of this Google homepage. The title is Google. So I'll be calling methods one by one. I'm going to call another method, very straightforward method, that is get title. That's it. This is going to give me the title, but it is not going to print the title. It will give me the title, but it is not going to print it. So whose task is for printing? So printing task is done by Java, right? So Java, how we print it? By doing system out println. So we're going to keep this thing inside system.out.println, and once the title is printed, we're going to close the browser. So we're simply going to say driver.quit. That's it. So if I run this again, going to launch the browser, navigate to Google, see the title is printed, and the application quits. Right? So there might be 100 lines of code written for launching the browser. There might be 20 lines of code written for navigating to Google. Might be another 10 lines of code written for getting the title and quitting. We are not worried about that code. We are not developing Selenium. Selenium is already developed. They have given us this class and couple of methods. We just need to call this method and automate entire website. Calling these methods, we can automate any website in the world easily. So in order to call these methods, we need to know basic programming concepts. What is a class? What is object? What are constructors? How to create a method? How to call a method? That is what the basic programming concepts we need to know in order to work on Selenium. So it's very easy to work on Selenium. Right? They have not given us any UI. Like UFT is a UI. In the backend of UI, the same coding part is mapped, right, with the UI elements. They have not given us the UI. They have directly exposed the code. So just take the code with the help of this API, this jar file, add it in your project, call their classes and methods, and automate any website in the world you want. That is what Selenium is. Chrome EXE is an API that is provided by the vendor. So directly, Selenium classes cannot interact with the browser. Selenium classes sends the request to this API, then this API processes the request and send to the browser. And then the communication happens to the browser and the action is performed. So we're going to see this thing once we understand the architecture of WebDriver. Right, but this is like a prerequisite. You need to have this browser executable available with you. Otherwise, this code might not going to work. Right? And there are some automatic ways how we can get this browser executable as well. That we may gonna see in tomorrow's lecture. Yeah, there could be multiple constructors as well, but those will be overloaded constructors. Right? Some argumented constructors are also there. So depending on what behavior of your browser should look like, you can provide the value in that particular constructor argument. So there are some properties that we define. But don't worry about that thing right now. That is a little advanced concept, and might other people might gonna get confused in the very first day. Right? So API means just a collection of libraries, collection of classes, which you are accessing in another project, right? So it is a mode of communication between the project and like let's say your HSBC bank project and a calculator project or a Selenium project, right? So it acts as an API over here. So that's what Selenium is, and we have a whole big list of topics that we're going to cover. So Selenium itself, if I talk about just Selenium components, the very first component that we have written over here is ID. But what we have seen right now was WebDriver. ID is something like a record and play plugin. Like every automation tool has some record and play feature. So they have also created a very small plugin, a plugin something like this. This is what Selenium ID is, a record and play plugin. It's a plugin to your browser, to Firefox, to Chrome. You can go to your Chrome extensions and you can search for ID and you can directly install it from there as well. But here, once you are done with this, although ID is not at all used in the industry, no one is working on Selenium ID. This is because there are a lot of drawbacks. Let me first show you what ID is. If you click on record a new test, you're going to see a project name. Just give any project name. I'm going to give it as Google project. Click on OK. It asks you a URL, http google.com, and click on start recording. Now whatever actions you're going to perform will be recorded. I'm going to type Selenium over here. Then I'm going to click on Google search. Then click on this. And then I'll go to this IDE and we're going to stop it. Name it as Google test. Google test. And you can see whatever actions that we have performed are recorded over here. In case you want to play them back, just click on this and you can see navigating, then typing, then clicking, and then going over here, right? So all these steps are being played. Now, there could be some delay or sync issues as well that needs to be handled. But if you stop this execution, normally what people they do when they try to record and play with this IDE, generally, if you right click over here, just a moment. You go over here, you click on export, and see you get all these languages over here. Click on Java, export, and go to desktop, click on save. And you can see a file is downloaded. Basically a Java file is downloaded. If you click on show in folders, where is that file? Yeah, I'm just going to copy this file, copy, and go to Eclipse, and I'm going to paste this file over here. And you can see the coding part. See, this is what we have typed, driver.get initially. You can see driver.get. So got a lot of coding over here, but this coding that you see over here, it's not at all complex. See, driver equal to new Chrome driver. This is what we did over here, driver equal to new Chrome driver, right? So manually when we have written this was very simple. So it's not like to get this code, you actually have to do record and play all the time. Whatever code that you are seeing over here, it is very simple to understand. Once you know the basic programming concept, once you know Selenium, you'll not be doing record and play. You'll not be dependent on record and play. You'll be writing all these things on your own. Why we should not be dependent on record and play? Because if we talk about Selenium in our entire automation project, this Selenium is only and only 25% used. Yes, in your entire automation project, Selenium is only 25%. Then what is the rest 75%? 75% are the integrations that you're going to do with Selenium. So what is the 75%? If Selenium is just 25%, what is 75%? So this is a question to you guys. Well, what is 75%? Java, obviously. The major part is of core Java. Then Jenkins. Yes, we integrate Jenkins. Anything else that you've heard about? CI/CD is through Jenkins itself, right? We have Git, we have Maven, reports. You may have heard about ReportNG, you may have heard about extent reports. TestNG, Java Mail API, Log4j, JDBC, n number of things. And these things are not related to Selenium. These things are not related to Selenium. Excel, right? That is Poi API. And there are hundreds of other utilities that we're going to integrate while working in an automation project. So like whatever code that we have written over here, what I want that this value should not, we should not hard code it inside the code. This should come from Excel, right? Normally when we do manual testing, we generally maintain our test data in an Excel file, right? All the username, password, other information that we need to fill up in a form, we just keep it in an Excel file, right? We maintain our test data in an Excel file and we read it from there. And this is what I want in automation as well. Whenever I am automating a website, all the data should come from the Excel sheet. Now, Selenium will not going to provide you any class or any method in order to build up a communication with the Excel file, because Selenium is only for web-based and Excel is a desktop-based project, right? So, but without Excel integration, your project is not complete. So in order to build up an Excel communication, we add another API to our project that is called as Poi API. So this is provided by Apache, another third party, and API as in these are the jar files. So in the same project where you have added the Selenium jar, you'll again right click over here, go to build path, add external archives, and go to the area where you have downloaded the jar file. So all other jars are not there. But for POI, it's again, you need to go to a centralized repository where you can search for different jar files. So POI, this is the jar file for POI. You'll be downloading this jar file, the latest version, download. It's getting downloaded. Now you go to Eclipse, go to downloads, select this jar file, open and add it. And now you can call the classes which are there inside this Poi API, and you can do reading and writing through Excel files as well, right? Now maybe my test data is in database. I want to write some queries and want to get that data, but that I want to do with the Java part. Selenium will not going to help you in communicating with your database. In order to get data from your database and then validate it from the website, Selenium is not going to help you in that. For database, SQL, MySQL, Oracle, different vendors, they provide their own APIs, again in a form of a jar file. So in case you want to build up a MySQL connection, just type MySQL over here, go to the MySQL repository and download this jar file, the latest version. And then you're going to get some classes through which you can build a JDBC or a ODBC connection, and you can write the Java query, write your SQL query within the Java code, get the data over here in the console itself, store the data and validate it from the website. But that task is not done by Selenium. That is done by this MySQL API, which you have integrated with your Selenium project itself. Same way, whatever execution that you're doing right now, this is just 4 lines of code. Maybe I end up, when I automate the entire website, I end up writing hundreds of thousands of lines of code. When I execute that code, it may gonna take at least 3-4 hours of complete execution. So for that 3-4 hours, will I gonna sit in front of my laptop and be watching the complete execution, where it is clicking, where it is typing? I'm not gonna do that, right? I'll not sit in front of my laptop for 4 hours just to watch what is being executed through my automation script. If I have to present over there, then what is the need of automation? Right? So what I want, that once the build is executed, it is going to run for 4 hours. But after 4 hours, I should be knowing each and everything, that whether it has entered username, password, clicked on the submit button, and then navigated to each and every section of my website, automated each and every test case. So I need some record of the same, some record, right? So I need some logs to be created in a separate file, that the script clicked on this button, script navigated to this page, script entered username, password. For each and every statement with the current timestamp, I want some logging should be there. So Selenium is not going to do that. For that, you need to integrate another API called as log4j API, another jar file, right? And then when we are running it, what we need from our automation, at the end, what we want, what result should we need from the automation? Just that it should execute and click on every stuff and perform all the execution. That is what we want from automation. What we need from automation? Report. What report should consist of? Pass or fail. Exactly. That is what we do in manual testing. If expected is equal to actual, then the test case is pass, otherwise it's fail. If we are executing something for 4 hours, at the end, if we don't get pass or fail, what is the purpose of execution? Right? See, like I've done execution for these 4 lines. Did I get any pass or fail? Maybe there might be a test case, launching a browser, navigating to a website, getting the title. There might be 3 test cases over here. Verify the title is correct, verify user is able to navigate to google.com. But are we getting, like, out of 3 test case, 3 pass or 1 fail or 2 pass? Are we getting that thing over here? No, we are not. Because Selenium is not what is going to convert this code into test cases. So we need another API, another framework that is called as TestNG. This is actually going to convert our existing code into test cases and test suites, and then we're going to show you a result, how many test cases are getting passed or how many test cases are getting failed. So that's what the task of TestNG is. And then there are some HTML reports integrated with TestNG. Like we have report-ng, like we have extend report. So this will give you a graphical presentation. Like if I show you something, the extend reports, I'll go to my Workspace and to the live projects. Yeah, Lure reports are there and number of reportings are there. So extent is, which is very widely used. So something like a report that I'll show you. This is how extent reports, it actually looks like. See a graphical report. Each and every action, you can see clicking on a button, typing in first name, last name, something like this. And over here, you should be able to see overall result, the automation tester name, organization, build number, starting and ending time, total time taken. So everything will be automatically added. Just that you need to add another library, another jar file to your project, integrated with TestNG, integrated with Selenium, which should actually going to report how many test cases pass, how many test cases fail, your complete dashboard, each and everything. You should be able to see all the status. This is what you can present it to your client. So that's what this reporting, how it looks like, right? So that is what these reportings are. So then we have some build tools. We have Jenkins. What are these things? We'll be explaining it in detail once we come to these lectures. These are also very important. So we'll be practically implementing Jenkins, and we're going to see how the Maven execution will going to happen, because at times it happens that your client might want to run your test. So you're not going to give him Eclipse. You're not going to give him the code to execute. You may going to give him a batch file, something like any batch file. The client will just going to double click on that batch file, and your automation test will be executed. Or maybe you're going to give him a UI. A UI is something like this, where I'll show you how that UI looks like. Selenium task is just to handle the web elements. Whatever you see on the website, all actions that will be performed in Selenium. REST task is done with the integration that we are going to do with Selenium. So see, this is what the UI is. Let it open, and then I'm going to show it to you. This is what Jenkins is. See, something like this. Now let's say if I click on this thing. So this is how the client will going to log in. Client has nothing to do with your code. Let's see what is going on over here. See, executing Maven. Jenkins is calling Maven. Maven is scanning your project. So project, the coding that you have done. It will go inside your D drive, workspace, wherever you have kept your data-driven project, and it is going to compile that project. See, running the test suite, it is giving a call to TestNG. TestNG is giving a call to Selenium, and it has launched a browser. We're going to do all the navigation, the testing. The data will be read from the Excel sheet. See, the data is coming from Excel sheet. Multiple set of data is being passed. The execution is very fast. And then the execution is completed. And over here, you can see total test run 3. All are failed because I've added intentional failures over here. And even the reporting should be integrated over here itself. See, sending email, at then it is going to send the email as well to this website. Although I've removed, I've changed the password, so it is not going to send the email, but you can send the email as well. Once the test is completed, it is going to send the link of your report, so that client should directly go over here and should be able to see what is there in the reporting. So if you click on this, this is one of the report, a basic report, which is customizable. You can see for the failures, all the screenshots are being captured, different screenshots. And this screenshot, this report is not giving you this screenshot. You need to design this on your own. Screenshots are something like a basic HTML, IMG tag, right? IMG, create an image, give small height, we're gonna give you a thumbnail. Anchor tag will gonna give you a link. So click on this, should open up the image. So this is what customizing that we can do. These are the detailed errors. This is a basic report, report NG. In case you want to see extent report, these are extent reports. A more detailed one, right? A screenshot of failure, more interactive report. See. So this is what a client needs to see. Client will not gonna see your Eclipse or the coding part. Client will only gonna see log into the URL, should be able to see all the test execution, how many tests are failing, how many tests are getting passed. That is what Jenkins is. So we are actually going to see all these configurations. I mean, this depends. I mean, if like client is paying for the automation part and client want to see if everything is working fine or not, then he should get this access, should be able to execute things. Right? So that's what Jenkins is. That's what we'll be learning. Right? So these are the things you can see. A lot of integrations need to be done. And as we have said, Selenium is only for web-based application, but you can see we can integrate the database part as well. We can fire SQL queries, get the result validated. So it's not like using Selenium, we can only do web-based testing. We can automate the desktop applications as well. And not just desktop, we can automate mobile applications as well using the same Selenium code. If I show you Apm code, Apm is nothing. Instead of this Chrome driver, I want to execute my test on Android. So I'll change this to Android driver and rest of the code will remain same. Just some additional configuration. If you know Selenium, almost 90% of the code is similar. And then you can execute it on your real device as well. So if I show you one of the sample code of Apm, and yeah, we are almost 2 hours of a session. So it may gonna take 5-10 minutes more. So I'll show you one of the Apm tests, just the test execution. Just give me a moment. And let me connect my real device to show it to you. Just a moment, guys. Okay. All right, and I'll launch application to show you my real device. So see, this is what a simple code, driver.get that we have written. And this is one additional code that I've written, which is actually going to type in Google search box. Means if I copy this and go to that Eclipse again, where, just a moment, where we were actually working, the project we have created was 10th October. So over here, if I just paste this one line of code more, what it is going to do is it navigates, launch Chrome, navigates to Google. Wait a second, there is some error that it is showing. Where is the error? Just a moment, guys. Okay, this one is error. Let me remove this. This is what we did with record in place. So let me remove this. So if I run this now, so it's right now it's on the browser, and it typed hello APM and then it quit. Let me remove the quitting part because it was very fast. Let me run it again. So this much code, what it is doing, it is navigating to Google, and in the Google search, it is actually typing hello APM, right? Now I'll execute the same code. I'll execute this code, the same code, but I'll launch APM for it. And let me connect my mobile device as well. So just a moment. Okay, so this is my real mobile device. What I'll do is I'm just gonna run this. I'll run this code and then let's see what happens. See, it's going to launch the browser on the real device. See, and should navigate and should type hello APM, and then it should quit, right? So this is how you can execute things. You can make a phone call, you can SMS, you can test WhatsApp, you can test Facebook, you can test any application that is there on your mobile device. This is because, I mean, like if we talk about importance of UI testing, mobile is also very important these days, because whenever we are traveling, we don't carry a laptop along with us, right? Most of the time we are on our tablets or iPads or mobile devices, we are purchasing stuff, right? We are on Amazon app, right? We are entering credit card information. A lot of things are there, right? So if web testing is important, mobile testing is also important. And if we have automation for web, we need not to learn anything new to automate things on mobile. APM is a wrapper over your Selenium WebDriver API itself. Most of the methods are coming from WebDriver itself, right? So that's what APM, if you know Selenium, you should be able to work on the mobile part as well. For desktop, like if you go to official website of APM, they've introduced something, apmpro.com. These are the official newsletters. If you go to their edition, somewhere around Win app, they've introduced another thing called as testing window desktop applications with APM. So there is another driver called as WebDriver. So WebDriver is something through which you can launch a calculator on your machine and you can perform testing on it, right? Writing the same code coming from Selenium, right? So in this, they are using Windows 10 platform and launching some weather application, a desktop application. And same code is there, same driver equal to this, and then it is also driver.find element that we have seen over here. So same code, you can automate desktop applications as well, right? So if you know Selenium, you can automate web, you can automate mobile, you can automate desktop, you can automate database applications. And then now what happens is for API, for API testing. Now API testing is again a big topic. I think we may not be able to cover it today, but I'm going to give you some overview tomorrow. So normally API testing, people generally use POSTMAN or SOAP UI. Majorly they are used. These are tools, specific tools, but used for hitting these APIs manually. Means majorly doing the manual testing part. In case a company is already working on Selenium, they have a whole big framework design. They want that like you're already handling mobile part as well, web part as well, database as well in the same framework. Now we don't want to invest into a different tool. So we want that you should integrate the API testing as well in the same framework, in the same project. So there is another API, another jar file, which is called as REST assured. So this is another jar file, which you can integrate in your same project along with the Selenium jar, and then you should be able to automate the API testing part as well. Not manually testing, you're automating the API. It's basically API automation, that is what it's called. So that is what REST assured it is. Right? So you can see if your base is strong, then you should be able to handle all sort of applications. Just that you need to build up a little programming base. That is, you only need to understand the core Java concepts. And for that, you will be getting a dedicated training before we jump onto the Selenium part. But yes, down the line, if you are into automation industry, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, you will see yourself working on all these things, all these major things, right? All these are in scope, in demand. Yeah, Chrome driver is actually designed for Chrome browser only, right? So that's what like this training is all about. We'll be focusing majorly on Selenium. We're going to have this database connectivity as well. And then whatever example that we have seen for Apm today, we'll be practically learning that example as well in the class as well. So Apm, the challenging part is the configuration of Apm. So I'm going to cover the detailed configuration, and I'm going to show you how to run your test cases on real device as well. And not just this, I mean, there's a whole big learning path at your end. In case if you have gone through the website, the main website, where I have shared you a couple of links that you're going to get free access to. So this is selenium-tutorial.com. Just a moment. Just a little delay, I guess. Yeah, this website has got a lot of tutorials added. Whatever that we are going to cover, everything is gonna record. We're gonna record all the sessions, and we're gonna upload it onto this portal. So I guess there could be a little network delay while this application is launching. Yeah, it's launching now. Yeah. So this is what I mean. Like you can see, you are going to get access to this is whole big 100+ hours of library on Selenium. Then you're gonna get complete mobile automation access as well. This is one of my unique course. You're not gonna find it anywhere in the industry, which is Automation Architect 7 live projects. In this, I have covered all major frameworks that you need to learn and you need to crack any interview. So based on 7 live projects, 7 different frameworks are covered. So frameworks like data driven, keyword driven, hybrid, page object model, page factories, Cucumber, lot of things, a lot of good frameworks. So you're gonna have lifetime access to these things. Rest I'm gonna send you in the email what all access information you're gonna get. So these are the thing. Yeah, these are the same that is there on the Way to Automation portal itself. So here they are organized in different courses. So there are a number of courses over here, 20 plus courses are there. So you're gonna get access to 7 course, and plus there is one manual testing course as well. If you go down over here, it's a complete list. It's taking little time because a lot of things are running on my machine, so this could be a little slow. So I'll give you access to that manual testing part as well. So if you are new to the testing field, then you can brush up your manual skills from here. This is the software manual testing SQT part. Right. So I'll be sharing you all this information over the email. And then today was the very first session, like a demo session for today. Then you can join tomorrow's session as well. And my mobile number, my contact information, all are there on the main website, waytoautomation.com. In case you want to reach to me on WhatsApp, so these are my WhatsApp numbers and my direct numbers as well. You can add me on Skype through this Skype ID, and this is my direct email ID. So you can give a call on any of these numbers if you want. Right, yes, you need a ID and password to access these portals, so that I'll be providing it to you. Right, so thanks a lot for today's session. We're gonna meet tomorrow. I hope you guys have the meeting invites for tomorrow's session as well. So you can just click on those meeting invite and you can try joining tomorrow's session as well. So I hope you guys have enjoyed the session. You might have not got bored. All right, must have got some learning from the session, and we're gonna continue with the same pace in our other sessions as well. All right. So thanks a lot, guys. Thanks a lot for joining, and I'm gonna share you everything over the email. Right. So thanks a lot, guys. Thank you. Thanks for joining, and I'll be uploading the recording soon, and we're gonna share it with you. Yeah, I'm gonna provide you a lot of assignments, exercises to automate live websites. Everything will be provided. So Sudeep, all this information I'll be sharing it to you over the email. Right. So I believe you all are registered on GoToWebinar with the same email ID. I'm gonna send you the detailed email with content and all the access information on the same email ID itself. Right? So we're gonna meet tomorrow at the same time. Yeah, Ashok, I'll send it over the email. Sure. Thanks a lot, guys. Stanley, I'll forward it to you. I'll upload it on the portal itself. I'll let you know where you can access. Yeah. Thank you. Thanks a lot, guys. Thank you.